Hello and welcome to the table at the Dice Cup in Nottingham. I'm Mark Windle.
I'm Steve Raine. And I'm Jonathan Hicks.
And in this one, we are talking about our top 5 games of 2017 because it is the most wonderful time of year. So, what's your guys' thought of 2017 as a whole in general?
When I came to do my list, I actually was struggling to pick more than 5, really. Oh. I think I'm a heavy Eurogamer, and I think the games I like to play, I found I've played a lot more of the older games this year in downtime rather than kind of replaying new games, with a few exceptions. So I think, you know, for my style game, I haven't been as impressed, although there have been some great games this year.
That's interesting. It's been a great year for me personally. I love games with theme, with story, that involve puzzle solving, and there's just been tons of all those different types of games this year. I had no trouble at all coming up with 5. In fact, I ended up bumping, sticking a whole load more than 5 on my list, and then I was having to try and order them and cut it down and things. But for me, it's been a great year. I've really enjoyed the games.
I definitely had a few notable exceptions and stuff I will be tacking on at a later point to make it. Yeah, I was struggling to cut it down to 5. 10, I could say really good games. That sort of number.
Yeah.
Even then, I'm doing things just to make it fit into 5. If you know what I mean.
I have played some great Euro games this year, but some of those were released last year, and if they were clearly released last year and I just played them late, I haven't added them onto my list.
Also, look at your top 30. You also have a lot of decent party games, and I think that's been possibly weaker than yours this year. I think if you think back to all the stuff that was coming out 2 years ago, I think there's maybe at least been good stuff, but just not as good.
There've been a lot of not reprints, but extra versions of things, like more One Night Ultimate, whatever, more code names, whatever. There've been a lot of adding on to previous things, but in terms of new original party games, I can't think of any, to be honest.
Maybe new original ones. No, there's one that just missed out on mine. But
we'll talk about that at the end.
Yeah, we'll do. Okay.
Should we roll on to our number 5s?
Marvellous. It's number 5.
Okay, well, my number 5 will definitely appear on other people's lists because it's Gaia Project, and we've talked about it loads already. You're going to hear a lot of gushing about it, but Gaia Project is... It got on my list because it's not Terra Mystica version 2, and that's the important thing that's probably come up later, is the fact I think the more I've played it, the more it doesn't offer the same experience of Terra Mystica to me anymore. I think that there's things with the new tech boards and the way that you're not now changing land types and stuff like that just made it. It's added so much more to it. It's a different experience. It's a better experience. It's fantastic. It's definitely my favourite heavy Euro I played this year by a massive margin. The races are all cool. We've been playing. I think I've played it like 10 times or getting close to that since Essen. It gets played weekly. I can't fault it as a heavy Euro. I love it.
Because as of the release of this video, I believe it's now out in stock in British stores, which it wasn't before. So if you haven't had a chance to play it, I imagine one of your friends will have probably bought it by now. So please do get down and play it. But yeah, I agree with Mark. It's great. I don't want to play Terra Mystica. I'll still play it, but I always have the choice. I'll play Gaia Project. My number 5 is a game that Jonathan couldn't wrap his head around even after 2 plays of it. It's a small dice rolling game called Sagrada, and Sagrada looks lovely.
It does.
It looks lovely, and there's a game called Blueprints, which when I kind of read how Sagrada works, I'm like, yeah, it's basically like Blueprints. But Sagrada is just much better game. It's every dice you pick is like key. It's so important to get the right dice every time it's your turn to pick, and the kind of the horseshoe drafting you get means you think, I really need those 2, but which one's more likely to get back to me? It gives you an extra kind of dimension to things. The dice pool isn't kind of constantly changing; it's depleting as the round goes on. So with all those restrictions and the powers you get and stuff, I think it's just a great little half-an-hour game.
It looks really nice, and the puzzle solving aspect of it is great. But it's such a brain burn. I mean, Steve says, I really struggled with this one, which is strange because it looks quite light. It doesn't look like a heavy game at all, but when you're picking one dice, you've got about 5 different things you need to take into account when placing it on your board. It can't go next to something else that's the same colour as that, or the same number as that, and then you're trying to score points by putting it in different places to get points. There are certain objectives you're aiming for, aren't you?
Yeah.
There's just so much to think about, and it's so easy. You know, after a couple of turns even, you're like, oh no, I've made a mistake already.
And then your mistake compounds itself because it stops you putting other dice next to it, and there's loads of restrictions. And I spent the whole first game trying to fill my board, and I did it, and I scored very few points because I hadn't actually done it in such a way that actually scores me points. So yeah, it's great.
It's a very well designed game, definitely.
I've not played it, but I have heard of people saying since you reviewed it, it's not available. Not specifically because we reviewed it, we're not that, but you got it at the time when it was available, and then it just ceased to exist in the US.
It's been reprinted. It's been reprinted once, I believe, and after that once reprinted, it just went away again.
Yeah, I know people really want to get hold of it, and that's usually a good sign.
I don't own it, so I would love to own that game.
That was me. Alright, now this is a game I've played several times, but technically I haven't finished it in that sense because it is a campaign game, and this is Pandemic Season 2. I played Pandemic Season 1, but this is Pandemic Legacy, and I enjoyed it, but when it came around to, these guys were saying, you know, do you want to play Legacy Season 2? And I was like, well, I guess I would, but I wasn't enthusiastic about it. But we've done a fair number of games now, and I've been loving it. Yeah. It's just really, really fun. It's very, obviously I'm not going to give away any spoilers here, but it feels very different to the original Pandemic Legacy Season 1. They've kind of turned things on their head to a certain extent. It feels like there's more story, in terms of the character creation I'm more involved. The whole thing just feels more like I don't know what's going to happen next. Even with Pandemic Legacy Season 1, there were developments in the story, and I didn't know what was going to happen, but it still felt basically like I was playing Pandemic for each game.
Well, it was expansions, wasn't it? They'd drawn through all the little expansions already.
But with Season 2, it feels newer, like there's more original content, again without giving much away here. I am really enjoying it, far more than I was expecting it to, so that's my number 5.
It felt fresh for me. I haven't played Pandemic Legacy Season 1, I missed the boat on that, and but yeah, this is great. I think the very first game we played, we're like, oh wow, yeah, even the first game we played, even the trial game we played that you don't really score for, you're like, oh wow, yeah, this is different enough to hook me, and it has hooked me. I think it's great.
I don't think without giving too much away, I've ever been happy to see some cubes. It's really good.
Well, I never. It's number 4.
So my number 4 is a game that technically was released in Japanese last year, but I got to play for the first time this year when Mark picked up the Expo, and until another game came along and beat it, it was my undisputed Euro game of the year, and that's Yokohama. It is another game that you really struggled with as well, yeah. So yeah, this is my theme of the year, games Jonathan struggled with. But no, basically Yokohama, if you've played Istanbul, is Istanbul but the Euro game behind it, like the really heavy version of it. Yeah. I played it once and I thought it was fantastic, and I played it again, and things felt different enough to know that I can play it a few more times before it's going to kind of wear out its buzz for me. I think it's great. I think you've got so much scope and so many different routes to take, and you can move, you can drop cubes off anywhere on the board, and you can kind of set up a turn 3 turns in advance to do it. It is cube pushing, it is slightly, well, pretty much themeless, but you know, there's loads of ways to score points, and there's loads of different powers and abilities you can get by getting little bonus actions, and that's the sort of Euro game I really like.
I think the powers make it particularly interesting because they can change how you decide to enter into that game, and there's so much going on that you have to kind of know what you're trying to do at some point, because because you've got to move guys around the board at the end of the day. If you're in the wrong side of the board with all your guys, you're stuffed, so you don't really want to be that.
I've been trying to think about why I struggled so much the first time we played this. And if you're familiar with Istanbul, which is a much simpler game, you have still 16 different locations. And it's actually tricky to explain because you've got to go through and explain what all the different locations do when you first teach it to somebody. It's like, this does this and this does this. And you kind of go through it and it's like, oh, okay, fine. What does this one do again? But with Yokohama, it's the same, only much worse because it's a heavy Euro. Because all the different things interconnect so much more. There's so many, as you say, strategies you could form. So if I use this one with this one with this one, and then you've got to plan your routes. The moving around the board, as you say, is much more difficult.
I actually think the spots are easier. There's a lot more spots picking up leaves, picking up fish and so on, but what you do with the stuff, you get, and not just picking the spot, but picking the spot and using it to, you're putting assistants on, and if you get 5 assistants in total, you can put a building down, and buildings get extra points. So not just doing the spot, but doing the spot in the right way to maximise your score. I think
it's just tight all the way along, whether it's the resource you need to fill contract or money just to keep ticking over. I think it's just a lot more tight.
Me?
Yeah, here's you.
Number 4? Okay, now I've kind of cheated slightly here because I've lumped not just 2 but about a dozen different games all in one category here because I can't really decide between them, and that's either the Exit series of games or the Unlock series of games. I think they're both excellent. There's been a whole pile of new ones that came out this year. I really enjoyed the first set of them that came out last year, and this year it feels like they've been just as good. I've really enjoyed them.
They've all come out this year.
Yeah,
all of them, really?
Yeah. It's been the year of scaring games.
Yeah.
Wow.
They came out in February or March or something, the first one.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. All of them in one category, because I don't think I could pick one over the other. But that idea of working together, trying to solve the puzzles and escape the rooms, to say, is just so satisfying. And the puzzles, they keep releasing more of them, and they're so interesting. Like, I thought they would have run out of ideas by now, but they haven't. The new ones are still innovative, showing us things that we haven't seen before. It's just been great. I've really enjoyed all of those games this year.
Yeah, I agree. We're going to have a video coming out in a few weeks' time about kind of talking through the specific different games of Exit and Unlock. But I'm like Jonathan. Yeah, I have a particular favourite, but all of them have been worth playing with, and it might be down to the people you play with. I've had a really good experience with lots of the different people who've done it. But yeah, I've had a really great time.
Yeah, I agree. I didn't actually put them on a list, but not because I don't think they're in the top 5. It's just I didn't know really where to, because they are one play and stuff, and it's all a bit combat. I wanted to keep them out of it. I think also because we're doing that other video, I wanted to use that as one of my reasons to be able to squeeze another game in there.
I think it would bother me if there was only one and you could only play it once. But they're going to keep making them, and we know at this point. And there are so many of them. I think you're not going to run out anytime soon, so I think it's fine.
Yeah, we've just currently done the second set of Unlock games in a few days. And we're in the sad period where you don't have an escape room game that you know you've got to play. Yeah. Okay, so my number 4 is probably the game I've played most this year, and that's the one that's risen the rankings quickest on BGG, and that's Gloomhaven.
Yeah.
Again, it's another thing I've talked about a lot previously, but I think the reason why I like so much is that it has that play again factor that you get with something like the Elder Scrolls series or whatever, the RPGs, and I would now want to go and visit this location, see what's up here, get a better character. I love the interplay on the cards, like the pick, the top and the bottom. It's just, there's more going on than just, to me, something like Descent where I move my guy 3 spaces, roll some die attacks and thing. There's more thinking going on, but there's the exploration side of things. The characters all feel different, and as I said before, I just like the world because it's not a nice world. It's not happy. Everybody's all charming, these little fairies and stuff. It's a bit brutal, a bit nasty, and so it's my favourite dungeon crawler because there's just so much it offers.
The world is really original that they created. It's not your standard fantasy at all, and I do really like that about it. It's a strange one because a lot of the missions basically boil down to go through the dungeon and kill some stuff, and yet the way you do that is really engaging because of the card play. There's so much involved in that card play. The more as you go through, you've got a very small deck effectively, but you're gradually losing cards as you go through the game, so you're more and more restricted about what you can do as you get more tired effectively, isn't it, as you walk through. And it's such an interesting mechanic, and they're multi-use cards, so there's an awful lot to think about. The first time we played it, I was like, "Whoa, my goodness, there's so much to think about." But you do speed up as you play it more. It's not on my list, but it's an excellent game. I think I can see why people like it so much.
It's not my style of game, and therefore I haven't played it.
I think you'd actually like it as a one-off trial. I don't think you'd play through the campaign.
It's similar with, and I might be spoiling something here, but similar with Seventh Continent, the amount of time I'd have to invest in a game I might not love to kind of get the full ride of the game means I'm probably not going to do it.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Extraordinary. It's number 3.
Okay, my number 3, it feels like this has been a year of highly successful Kickstarters. Following on from Gloomhaven, my next one is another Kickstarter that got over $7 million, I think, and this is the Seventh Continent. and it fully deserves all the hype it's got. I've loved playing this game. It is a choose-your-own-adventure game in a box, and there's tons and tons of it. The really nice thing about it is it's a map, so you're not just reading a paragraph of text and then picking a different page to go to. You're actually revealing different areas of this continent that builds up in front of you. So it's like a tile-laying game, sort of Carcassonne style, except that each tile is different, and you can do a whole pile of different things on each of the tiles. And you might decide, oh, I'm going to try climbing this cliff or investigate this swamp or whatever it is you want to do. And there's a lot to think about and a lot to do. And yet it's not... There's very little combat in it. It's not one of these where you run around and then throw some dice and kill some monsters. It is very much exploration. There's some lovely little touches, like a lot of the tiles that you're exploring have hidden numbers on them. So if you kind of want to inspect each tile very closely, and if you look, it's like, hang on, there's a number here, and you replace the tile with a different number tile, and an extra feature appears on the tile. Maybe you've spotted something hiding in the bushes, and then you can go and investigate that. So there's just some great touches they've added to it, but the whole thing has been put together so well. There's been so much thought that's been put into it. The only downside really is it requires an awful lot of time, as you were saying, Steve. It's one of these games that you can't just sit down and play a game for an hour. It's just an extended campaign, so you could play for hours and hours and hours.
You don't want to pack it up because
No,
it takes up
that's
so
right.
much table space.
You can. There is a save mechanism, which is okay, but really
It really
you just wanna leave
disadvantages you
it.
if you do it though, because you then have to re-explore the tiles, and
That's
that's
right.
actually
Yeah.
You can. This is one of the games you kind of want the top for your table.
Yeah.
You
Oh,
kind
yes,
of want
to
one
put
of
it
these
on.
tables, to have a top for it. It's like a sandbox, so basically you can do what you want. You don't have to do everything on the tiles to advance. You don't have to do various things. You can miss things out. There's, if you kind of replay the same mission again, there are different outcomes for certain tiles.
Yeah, like random events keep popping
Yeah,
up.
so you can investigate this the first time through and something good happens, and you do it the second time and nothing happens or something bad happens. So you don't know the best way through. You've got to kind of trust to the look. But yeah, it's a gorgeous game. If I liked playing games solo, it would be a game that you could probably do. Just leave it on the side
It
table.
worked very well solo.
Well, you saved me time because that was also my number 3.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Straight on to you.
Oh, okay, so yeah.
I think we've already got it.
So my number 3 is a 2-player game that was released this year, and is a retheme of an existing great game, and it has replaced that great game for me. That's Codenames Duet. I think all the good things that Codenames had, and I was a massive advocate of Codenames, but I thought it played better with my family because gamers slowed it down. People tried to pick the best clue and whatever, and so a lot of the reasons we didn't like Codenames is not necessarily because the game was bad. The game is great. Is that it slowed down, people delayed, and you were sat there waiting for people to do things, so we had to start using a timer, which the game isn't really meant to be done with a timer. And Codenames Duet breaks that. You're basically cooperative. There's no downtime because you can give a clue when they've answered it. Oh, I've found another one. You can give another clue straight away. So if your partner's struggling to link their words together, you can kind of keep going and kind of filling that waiting space with thought. And you can talk, as long as you're not spoiling the game, you can talk to the people. Whereas in real Codenames, you can't talk to your spy master without the other team saying you're giving stuff away, you're giving stuff away. So if I wanted to Codenames title experience, I would always play Codenames Duet. I think it's surpassed Codenames for me.
It is technically a better game, I think, and if I've got 2 people, then it's perfect, and I've really enjoyed my plays of it. The only downside, obviously, is that if you've got 6 people, you can't.
Oh
really
yeah,
play.
I mean, I'll still play Codenames if you have that sort of crowd.
That's right, and I would still enjoy it. But you're right, the downtime in Codenames is the issue, and Duet fixes that. It totally fixes it, which is great.
I can sit there for hours. I mean, Matt and I have played we've got a campaign version, and we sat there and we failed, succeed, fail, succeed, fail, and we're going around the word doing these things, and we did that for like 3 or 4 hours. It's great.
Yeah, I agree entirely. I think the only negative with Codenames is just, I guess we play with people who want to win more importantly than have fun, and it's a party game. You have to take it what it is. You have to play it with enjoyment being more important than the win, and so yeah, Duet doesn't fall into that category for the nature of it.
Spiffing. It's number 2.
So this one sneaked in because I've only played it in the last week, and it's crazy, but I really enjoyed it. Siberia Conference, the game of really hard words.
Okay.
I mean, I don't think this is recording the fact that our review of it is now yet, so that shows how we're sort of filming this at the moment. It's a negotiation game. I like negotiation games. It's got player powers. I like player powers. It's kind of, I've read it on the BG forums. I kind of agree after reading it. It's like a negotiation version of Century Spice Road, but because you're essentially converting cubes into other cubes into other cubes. But unlike so many other negotiation games, you have to negotiate. You can't not. I really quite enjoy Chinatown. But you can get into midpoint of the game and somebody kind of knows if they don't negotiate, they're more likely to win because they've already got a decent setup. They've got to get. This game, I think the more you play it, the better you get because you want to be opening markets and giving people stuff they want, so you get the stuff you want. You have to be more observant, but it's so crazy and there's so many cards and so much going on. And the first play of it, it's like I can only really concentrate on my engine that I'm building. But I think now I've played it once, I can now start going, well, really, you're going to want some of that soon. So if I get one of these, start pushing me in that direction, that's the way for me to go. And the fact I quite like the bit where. So you develop a technology, you get points for that technology, then around everybody else gets that technology. Theirs might do something slightly different, but it keeps a level playing field, so it always gives people opportunity. It's just not like any other negotiation game I've ever played before, and it's because it is like play at the same time. It's actually fairly snappy. I thought it'd be really slow. Or might have problems, but we were doing the rounds in less than 10 minutes easily, and doing a lot of trading in the middle of it.
It's difficult to explain the first time you teach it because there is so many different kinds of cubes, and you say all these technology cards have got ridiculous names. It looks like they've gone through a dictionary to find the most convoluted names they can think of, and then they've named all the cards that. But essentially it's like if you've played Catan, you sort of have an engine, you're trying to build things and you need to swap like wood for sheep or something. It's like a mega version of that. You've got tons of different types of cubes, you're trying to power this massive engine, and then you have these huge segments of the game that are like, okay, I'll give you a blue cube for a red cube or whatever it is. I was like, oh, that's not good enough, I want 2 red cubes. So I was like, okay, I'll give you this as well instead. And that between 4, 5, 6 people all at once, and it is incredible. You feel like you're in a market, don't you?
Maybe also because of the way we played it, or maybe because it is so complex though. It's not too evil, as in the negotiation is relatively, that's a good deal, let's get it done before somebody ruins this deal that I'm about to get.
That's right.
So it's not, I mean, I suppose particular people are going to take forever because they'll be like, but then if you do that, somebody else is going to have, well, I'll offer you that instead. And then they'll go, yeah, fine, done.
Right.
And then, so you can't be too slow.
Yeah, you can't deliberate. You really do need to get on the trades, otherwise you'll lose out.
This has snuck up because I don't even think I can remember the name of the game. I knew you wanted to play it on Tuesday or Thursday last week. And,
I knew you liked it. I didn't realise you liked it this much.
I give it a high figure, and I love negotiation games, and I love player powers.
It's got cubes. I love cubes.
It's got engine building.
Yeah, okay, I'm in.
It's just, I think it's an experience almost because I can't patch anything quite
It's very
the same.
unusual in terms of how it feels, definitely.
My number 2 is a game that I've probably played the most this year, and I've probably played about 10 of the 14 different races, and that's Gaia Project. We have played so many rules wrong, and I think I've played one game maybe with every rule we've played correct. We think. We still don't know yet. 1 or 2 games, but it's brilliant. It is not fixed Terra Mystica because Terra Mystica wasn't broken, it's just better. I think in Terra Mystica you can terraform something away from something, you can be a bit mean, you can pinch spots on the cult track with your priests to make other people not do it as efficiently, you can pinch tech tiles once they're all gone, you couldn't do it. All of those problems have been fixed, and the cult track itself giving you stuff for each cult track, and the cult tracks are completely different as well. You're not just going up on the earth track because no one else has, you're going up on the ground track because you need to be able to terraform or something like that. So if you haven't had a chance to play it. We've already talked about it, but it is brilliant.
My number 2 is also Gaia Project, and you knew it was coming up really. We've all had such a great time playing it, haven't we? And we've played it and played it and played, as they say. It's funny because it does share a lot of mechanics with Terra Mystica, and yet, as Mark says, it feels quite a different game in that sense. And there is so much you can do. The scope for it is great, and it's like each game you can sit down and say, I'm going to try a different strategy. It's like, we'll go for this track or that track, and each race gives you a completely different thing to focus on. There's so much variability. I just love it. I feel like I could just play this all year and still not be sick of it by the end of the year.
I mean, obviously it has the things that like the expansion and the upgrading of buildings. They're the base, the same, but stuff like the tech track forces people down even more different routes than Terra Mystica. Because the powers have a large larger range of variation.
Yeah.
I just don't, when I play it, I don't feel like I'm playing a rebranded, upgraded Terra Mystica. I feel that the experience is different enough that that it sits and I'm happy with it.
Yeah, we all love it. It's all on all our lists, so yeah, great.
Definitely.
By Jove, it's number 1.
So it's time for our top 1, and it's back to Between Two Cities to get the ordering. And we're going to go with, in fact no, let's let Jonathan pick.
This one. It's height.
6 foot.
5 foot 10 and a bit.
5'10", just pretty much spot.
Okay, so I'll go first.
2,
Yeah, works for me.
So if you know my year, my year's been made up of 2 games basically. Guy Project has joined this other combination of games, and it's just like Jonathan, I'm going to put them together. I'm going to exit and unlock the escape room experiences. We've got a video coming out with more detail on all of them, but I've never rated a game other than Bridge a 10, and after playing Exit for the 3rd Exit game or something like that, I rated it a 10 because I had so much fun playing it. That by that definition, even though I can only play it once, I would want to play it. If a new Exit came out or a game of Guy Project, I'd play Exit all day long. So it's that good. I think it's great.
Do you think the wait makes it better? So the fact that you have that period of time where you're going, I can't wait for the next unlock to come out, the next Exit game. If they released 50, would you burn out? No, you wouldn't.
I'd buy all 50, but I'd have to sit down and I'd want to play all 50, and I'd sort out my group. I'd say, Mark, Jonathan, when are you free?
Yeah.
Making sure that they don't play it without me, I don't play it with someone. I've always got someone to play it with, because the problem with these games, because you can only play them once, is that other people want to play them too, and if they play them with your group, you've got to find someone else to play them with. And the more I game and the more games I play, the more I realise that the group matters a lot more than people think. A great game with poor people is not as good as sometimes an okay game with great people. And Exit is a game, because you can only play it once, that I want to play with my group.
And enjoy it. I mean, that's the only reason we actually set up this whole video thing, is to make sure we had 3 people for these for the next year. Anyway.
Alright, so my number 1 is another Kickstarter game, and I've been thinking of all the games to come out of this year, which one do I want to play more than anyone else? If I had to just sit down and play one game right now, and that would be too many bones. It's a dice building RPG essentially. So you have a character and you go on an adventure and try and kill some monsters, but the way you do all of it is with dice. There's tons and tons of dice, and the character upgrade mechanism is just really, really interesting. So when you kind of get an upgrade, you're picking from about 20 different dice, ones to add to your character that you can then use in combat. Some might give you extra attacks, some might be defenses, some will be utility in various ways, and each character is completely different from every other character. There's like half a dozen different characters, and the dice for each character are all completely different. So you might have one character who's very heavy on attack, but even if you've got another character who's very good at attacking, their dice will still be completely different and work in very different ways. So the variability is huge. I love the story. There's been a second Kickstarter just come out earlier this year for an expansion where they're adding a campaign mode. So I'm really excited to play that for next year. But I'd still happily play the base game over and over again until it comes, because I've just loved it. Every time I've played it, I've really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's my number 6.
Okay.
It made my top 30. I love it. It's the best upgrade system for a character I've played in any game, period. I just like the whole way. It's simple, but and the amount of variation of the characters is huge. But even like the little strategy combat's quite fun. It's quite thinky. It doesn't feel like a dungeon crawl. It's more like a little tactical battle more so than anything else. And it's so important you work together in that, because you'll fail, because it's really hard as well. It might look like a fun little kids game with the little elves and things. It's not. It kicks you hard.
It has been a year for great games on Kickstarter. So at the start, where I said I haven't been that impressed with the year, obviously what this year's done very well is stuff like Gloomhaven and Seventh Continent and
kind of hit the market.
Bones. Yeah, and they're great, like epic games as well that will take hours and hours of playthrough.
And are the kind of games that would not be, that it's not possible for them to come out if it wasn't for Kickstarter. Like they wouldn't, games like Seventh Continent are never going to see retail because of the cost involved in producing that kind of game. You need people who are going to love it so much that they're willing to spend £100 or something on a game like that. But it's, I'd much rather spend £100 on one great game, which is going to give you hours and hours to play, rather than buy, 3 games at 30 quid each or something that are going to be like, well, yeah, they're good, but in 6 months' time I'd rather play something else.
Yeah, I think I watched Board Game Breakfast today or yesterday, and the top 4 rated ones currently on Kickstarter for 2017 based on BGG are all Kickstarters.
Right.
Gloomhaven, Seventh Continent, I can't think of the rest of them. Too many bones, I think, with them on there as well. But yeah, so it shows that Kickstarter is now one of the forefront ways of selling games.
Yeah.
Obviously, the nature, the necessity we say is that these were actually all 2016 games that we've only just received.
That's right.
All further back.
You're back to them last year, didn't you?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You got
It's
to
a
wait a
risk.
while. But
It's a big monetary.
Yeah.
It does make you also go. You buy for the base thing, and you always end up pledging more if you really like the look of it, and you have to accept because it's that fear of missing out.
But there are certain companies now, I think are going to do a really good job. There are still plenty of companies who are like, I don't know if they're even going to deliver what they say they're going to deliver. But there are several companies who've really proved themselves on Kickstarter now, and I'd be very happy getting any of those.
Saying that you talk about Too Many Bones, I didn't know much about Chip Theory Games, is it? Who made it
yeah,
before
that's right.
that? So I suppose I'd look at the next one now, or you have to have that breakthrough. So my number 1 we've already talked about. I think it was the top end of Jonathan's list, and that is Pandemic Legacy Season 2. I love Legacy System, I love the plot. It feels different to the original, which was my top game a couple of years ago. It's almost, again, without giving too much away, but it is all in the basic, what they get outline. It's a bit like Reverse Pandemic initially. The whole, you can see on the back of the box, where's all the map? And then you're like,
It's different enough to make it worth playing, I think.
Yeah, and it had that straight away, I want to get back in and play the next game every single time I play it, even if I played it all day. And there's just something about that, the evolution and the shock and the bit where everybody just looks at each other and goes, I can't believe that happened. I think that, and it creates the memories and it's the things you think about long term.
As soon as we finish recording tonight, we're going to sit down and carry on with the campaign. That's how much we like it.
I probably haven't added it to my list because we haven't got as far through it, but I guess you two have just fallen in love with it quicker. I think it's great. I do think it's great, and it would. It's very close to being on my list, I think. Were there any other near misses for you?
Well, can I say that my list is a lie?
Oh.
Because obviously my favourite game of the year isn't on the list.
Because it's a 4th edition?
Because it's the 4th edition of Twilight Imperium. But this is why I've been very specific on what I said with Pandemic Legacy and what was the first one? And Gaia Project, is that they feel like new, different enough games. One has a new story and different mechanisms. One doesn't really feel like the other. Well, TI4's an evolution of an existing product. They've gone through every little rule, tweaked it, made it better, made it so much, for me, because I loved Twilight 3rd edition, so much better because I think all the improvements are really adding to big changes. But it is still essentially, it feels like the same game, just a better version of it, while those other two were less so in that case.
Other honourable mentions for me would be Magic Maze, really enjoyed that this year. Dice Forge and Captain Sonar, probably.
I had Crosstalk on the list. Crosstalk is one you kickstarted. The reason I'm not so fan of this year is that my favourite designer is
Stefan Feld.
And he produced Merlin, which wasn't really that great. It's a fine game, rated it a 7 out of 10, but I was expecting way more. And my favourite party game is
One Night Ultimate,
and the One Night Ultimate Alien came out, and it was just not as good as the rest of them, I'm afraid. It just as a standalone game, maybe you have to mix it in with others, but I've been let down a bit, and I haven't had the Seventh Continent and Gloomhaven to kind of pull it up a bit this year.
Really enjoyed Near and Far as a story-based game, and I think neither of you have played it yet. I really enjoyed Pulsar 2849.
Oh, I do really want to play that one.
It's amazing. Again, I think that was like my number 7. It's really good, but because I've only played it once, I really want to play it again. And also, when I've played it, I didn't play with the player race powers, which I think will make it even better. So yeah, it's just you'd like it because there's a point salad, and it is a real point salad.
I like the look of it,
and the whole dice mechanism works great. Yes, that's really fun.
Near and Far was really good, and that was another Kickstarter, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's another one.
Ryan Lorcat is great. I love all the stuff that he does. I haven't had the chance to play through the campaign for Near and Far though, so and it might have been on my list had I played more of the games because I did really enjoy it. The whole story and it affecting what happens in the future thing. I love story. There have been just so many great story games that have come out this year. I've really enjoyed it.
So, I guess that's been our top 5 games each of 2017. I've been Mark Windle.
I'm Steve Raine.
I'm Jonathan Hicks.
And we have been the table of the Dice Cup Nottingham. Bye all.
Yeah, bye.